What's stopping you really moving forward with your Irish? The desire is there, and sometimes you even make a lot of effort, but you feel that you're just not moving forward the way you want to. You're not seeing a lot of change. So what's holding you back? I'm going to talk about ways you can integrate learning Irish into your life so that you do move forward and you don't give up.
So, is this some kind of pep talk? Yeah, I guess it is.
Why should you listen to me on this? Well, I'm talking a lot about my own experience and how I moved on from it. I've also learned several other languages to quite a high level, so I know what kind of things can get in the way of progress, real progress. So if you feel something's holding your Irish back, stick around for my 4 approaches you can take, and I promise you, they will make a difference. You might have seen an article in the Irish Times on the weekend by the writer Ethna Shortall. I think that's how she says her first name. She was talking about starting to speak Irish at home with her children so that they would have more input than just at school, and making it a part of their lives on a daily basis. It's worth a read, and I'll put the link below if you haven't seen it. But I just wanted to begin with a quote from what she said. She writes, "We started by carrying out our morning routine, asked Gaeilge. The hour or two from when we got up until the kids were dropped to childcare. It is a lot of effort when it doesn't come naturally, but this felt like a manageable commitment just about. The night before, we told our son what we would be doing, and then, when he was in bed, set about looking up the Irish for porridge, in brackets, leche, brochan, underpants, for vrichte, and other necessary morning vocabulary." And she adds, "The fact that you have to repeat yourself ad nauseum with children bore fruit." I bring up this example because it's one way people can try to integrate their learning into their daily life and hopefully pass it on in the case of children. I've talked before about how when I studied languages at university, instead of being concentrated all in one day like most classes are, or across 2 days, there were short classes almost every day. Universities don't do that accidentally with languages. It's because a bit every day is going to do you more good than a block now and then. So 4 things you can do to get closer to your Irish goals. The first one, make it daily. Don't make the goals too big. I've said it before and I'll repeat it again. Binging doesn't stick. We've all done it. Instead, it's the little drip, drip, drip that wears the obstacle down. On days when you can't take any big forward steps, maybe you're still struggling with the copula and you think, I've got to get on top of that somehow. Make something your bare minimum. Like the example in the news story, make maybe 1 segment of your day into Irish language only. Now, you might not have anybody else with you who speaks it. You can always narrate what you're doing to yourself. Doesn't matter whether others hear you or if you're all by yourself. You can look up the vocabulary if you don't know what you're doing. And it's amazing how real-world practice will make the words stick in a way that memorizing lists will never do. Now, this applies even if you attend a class, because nothing leads to fluency more than what you do outside class yourself. And that was the idea in the news story I mentioned. Bringing it into your home life. It only comes with the extra work you yourself do. Nobody can feed it to you on a spoon. If that kind of narrating to yourself or making 1 segment all in Irish is too much on a given day, then try something more passive. Why not watch or listen to some brief content in Irish so that you've done something that day, even if it feels lazy. Even if you haven't understood it all and you may want to return to it later. You know, on weeks when I don't achieve my set goals, when I don't do as much as I thought I was going to, I always watch at least 1 episode of Rosnarún. Doesn't sound like much, but it means I haven't had an Irish-free week or an Irish-free day. There are YouTubers and people on other platforms too, of course, who do daily shorts where you can actually add vocab you might not have otherwise had. And I'm thinking of people like James Donegal Irish or Play agus-Spraoi. You can go deep with it if you want, making notes, repeating what they say, keeping records, building on the daily information, or you can just let it wash over you as a regular source of input. a promise that you've made to yourself to show up, to watch and listen, or to read. But unless you live in an Irish-speaking area, your best bet is to make for yourself a source like this every day. So number 1 was making it daily, and remember you can also do that with songs or poems, which you'll find online. Number 2, stop focusing on the reasons you can't. It was no good when I did it at school, I never learned it. You're not in school now. You hold the keys to it yourself. And that can be true if you are still at school. Or maybe I'm too busy. Well, see my previous point a little bit every day, in the same way we eat every day or drink water. If it's important to you, make it that important. You're not trying to be the world's greatest polyglot here. You're just trying to have some Irish every day. Another can't, which could apply in my own case, so I know what I'm talking about here, is I can't meet other Irish speakers. In my instance, I'm out in rural Western Australia, so I'm far from groups or classes that might hold conversations. And, of course, very far from Ireland itself. Well, so I got on YouTube and began to be part of a community. And even though I'm still not fluent, this has helped me greatly. As an example, I recently took the online TEG placement test because I was looking at courses I might enroll in online and wanted to find out actually where do I sit. I'll put the link for that test below if you're interested in doing it. There are fors and againsts with tests, of course. And I came out at B1, probably true for comprehension, but I'd be very surprised if my speaking is at that level because it takes a lot more confidence and thinking on the hop to do that. The test was listening, reading, and so on. Of course, such tests are easier to do if you're familiar with language tests and language learning, so they're not always a true representation of where you are. Don't feel despondent if you come out lower, or too excited if you come out higher than you think you are. That's subject matter for a whole other video. But in honesty, I'd say maybe for speaking I'm A2 and nearly B1, with lots of pronunciation issues still here and there. And believe me, that is better than when I started this channel, which is only 9 or so months ago. Tests don't matter unless you need them for something, which might be, say, paying for a course where you want to make sure you go in at the right level. I merely mention this to show that when you focus on why you can rather than why you can't, I can't be in an Irish language environment, but I can be on YouTube. You move forward even if you don't realise it. Take away some kind of commitment that will maybe embarrass you if you don't make good on it. I started this YouTube channel for that reason. It is about other languages too, but primarily because I'm learning Irish, and it was about my goal to improve. It makes me act. Now, hopefully it also gives something to other people along the way who are going through the same process. And I've learned more in the months since making this commitment than I did in all the years before it. Maybe you have a friend you can make a deal with, a friend who's also learning or who already speaks the language. Maybe to speak Irish together once a week or more, no matter how good or how bad you think you are. Some sort of pact, whether it's public or small and local, a pact to act. So that's number 2. Number 3, go narrow. Go narrow within the broad. You will inevitably need more than one learning resource, okay, or one platform, especially because we're talking more than one dialect in this language. So complete information is not in any one book or one app. However, no matter the number of books or apps or whatever else you have, you should home in on one major pathway and try it for at least a while. I've managed to accumulate several Irish courses in books and discs and sound files and so on. Sometimes ones I've sought out and others that have been gifts. But essentially I've focused, well, first on Buntus Cainche, then on learning Irish. Learning Irish is tough but rewarding. I mean the book, not the process. I'm working through it sequentially. When I've finished it, I plan to return to Buntus Cainche because of the focus on listening and speaking. Some of you may know my very first video was a review of the Buntus Cainche course. But the other Learning Irish book is really good for explicit grammar. The other books I have I regard as supplements to these, or to this, cross-references. If something isn't clear in one, I can check it in another. If you have one major thing you're working through, it functions as a rudder. So no matter what else you encounter, different ways of saying something, different understandings, you can steer your way forward. Spreading your efforts too widely can mean you simply are adrift. Some people say, for instance, pick a dialect and stay with it. What resources are you using? And have you narrowed down? Number 4. This is a kind of call to action again. Make a list of the things you are avoiding. Why do I say you're avoiding them? Because there are things I avoid, and I assume this happens to others too. I don't just mean the things you're completely avoiding. I mean those ones where you know a bit, or you kind of get it, but you know you need to pay more attention, dig deeper, or get to the nitty-gritty of it.
Don't get me wrong, we don't have to tackle everything every way all at once, but some things you can't keep putting off.
For me, these are things like the copula. Yes, I get the basics, but once it comes to the sentences with proleptic pronouns and other details, I tend to put off really digging down to the bottom of it. So I can do it, but I know there's fuzzy stuff there where I'm going to have to open the curtains and really get some clear light. So I'll set myself the goal of working toward a video on that where I put into it everything I have found out so that you can share it too. It means I will have found out everything a non-Irish, not in Ireland person without classes to go to, not surrounded by Irish speakers in daily life, can find out. Within the limits of the sources I have access to, of course. It depends also what libraries you can access, how much money you want to spend. But avoidance, ultimately, is something that holds you back. Please tell me in the comments what your avoidance issues are. I mean the ones where you get it a bit, but you're holding off looking deeper when you know you're going to have to at some stage because it looks hard. Everything looks hard until it doesn't anymore. You can even share a list below of what you are avoiding, and I'll see if I can do videos on those topics to help us all along a bit. So we get past the procrastination and then you can finally cross each one off your list. Let's beat the avoidance barrier together. Let's not be held back.